So Vic, what was it that Hines Ward did go after you about?
I can't totally remember, but him and I, the first time we played in the Meadowlands, I had like 15 tackles, and he was actually his coach had to take him out of the game because he made his business kind of like Rex Ryan and Bill Belichick about them two. He made it about me. I mean, even when he wasn't scheduled to block me, he was coming in to try to find me. Him and I was just going back and forth, and then we went up to play them in Pittsburgh. He was saying my wife said something about his wife, and it was just a whole slew of things, man. But it was a crazy ordeal. But Hans and I had some good battles out on the football field. He's a good football player, physical football player, and I'm looking forward to their game as well this week.
Well, speaking of their game, that's what I want to talk about. That's the other, another big time matchup. Ravens Steelers, big time rivalry. These two teams hate each other. What's
Right.
your thought on that game, and who's going to take it?
I don't know, man. I think Pittsburgh's going to win it. 'Cause I think that with that Big Ben, I think they just suited to win this game. I think it's going to be a hard fought battle. I think they both defenses are going to play unbelievable. And but I think with Big Ben, man, and that offense and then that running game, I think they're just going to do enough to get past Baltimore in the fourth quarter there.
Well, let me ask you a question. Who's got the advantage? A team like the Ravens, they're a little bit, they're banged up, so to speak, but they did play last week, so they're not really rusty. Or would you rather be the team like Pittsburgh coming off the bye? Maybe they still have a little rust to shake off in the beginning of the game.
Well, Pittsburgh was banged up, so I think a team like that they needed the rest. Baltimore obviously had to play, but I've been on a team where we had a bye week, and it's phenomenal. I mean, you need that rest. You go for 16, 18 straight weeks of football. I think it's a good time to get away from football. So I think Pittsburgh have that advantage. Even though Baltimore played last week, I think Pittsburgh has an advantage, getting some guys ready, getting Palomalo back out on the football field. So for me, Pittsburgh will be a much well-rested team and will be ready to go this week.
Now, John Harbaugh has done a great job with the Baltimore Ravens, but my favorite coach in the league, Coach Mike Tomlin on the Steelers, talk about what he's been able to accomplish. An intense guy, knows how to have fun, lets him play loose. Talk about what he's been able to accomplish in Pittsburgh, replacing such a legend like Bill Cowher.
I mean, it's for a young guy like Mike Tomlin to come in and get two Super Bowls for that team already. It's been a good deal. I mean, especially for an African American coach, a young coach. I think he was one of the youngest coach when he first started coaching that football team. That's doing a great job, especially with all the egos and all the veterans that they have on that football team. For him to come in as a young coach and do what he's done, it's been a good thing, and I think it's great for the league when you had a coach like that and come in and be able to coach a big ego team and follow a legend, like you said, like Bill Cowher. It's a good thing.
Well, Vic, I think that the Steelers are no doubt about it going to exploit the Ravens secondary. And I know Ed Reed's a monster back there, but obviously Palomalo does his thing as well. I really think Big Ben is just a tremendous quarterback in this league, as we all know. People still seem to knock him, but I don't know if people are aware, he has the most conversion percentages on third down over 3rd and 7. So there's no doubt about it. Even if it's 3rd and long, the Steelers and Big Ben can move the chains, and that's why I think the Steelers are going to take care of the Ravens this weekend.
Absolutely, and you look at the Raiders and how the Ravens and how they're built. It's their front seven, and if you block their front seven, the secondary, even with Ed Reed, I think are the weakest part of their defense. And I think you're right; they will get exploited this weekend with Big Ben and Wallace out there, and Hines Ward, and those guys. It can be a blowout. It really can. I mean, because if they block up that front seven, Big Ben is good enough to get it to their receivers. And again, with Wallace outside and a fast guy, he can have 2 or 3 touchdowns this weekend.
Well, sometimes, as you know, the hype of the game can be actually better than the game itself, but I really hope to see some good
Right.
games this weekend. let's switch over to the NFC side of things. Most likely, the teams that are going to be one of the two teams that are going to be defending or representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. Let's talk Packers Falcons. You're down there in Atlanta.
Packers.
I'm sure they're buzzing down there, but I like the Packers. Packers are my pick to win the Super Bowl. They just have so much depth offensively, defensively. They got the running game going with James Starks. Talk about that matchup a little bit. What sticks out in your mind as far as those two teams go?
Well, I'm looking at the Falcons, and they're very good at home. You got Matt Ryan playing really well. You got Roddy White having the best season of his career. You got Michael Turner. I mean, they have some weapons. You got Gonzalez. It's going to be tough for the Packers to come in their house and win this football game. With that being said, I do like what Aaron Rodgers and that offense is able to do. Also, along with that defense being fast, being quick, and having the ability to put some pressure on Matt Ryan. So it's going to be a very good matchup, and I think the team that wins this game is a team that ends up in the Super Bowl.
No doubt about it. And you spoke about the Falcons receiving core, and they've done such a great job. Matt Ryan, he has 1 or 2 losses at home since he came in the league a few years ago. But the Packers' depth, I mean, they got Charles Woodson, the reigning defensive MVP, Tramon Williams, in my opinion, the most underrated corner in the league. You talk about Brent Grimes on Atlanta doing a great job there, which is probably playing better than Dante Robinson, but it's the Packers' depth. Everyone thinks Packers, they think A.J. Hall, Clay Matthews. Their secondary is tremendous. Nick Collins, Sam Shields. I mean, they're out of their minds. So I really like the Packers. As much as I like the Falcons at home, it's just the Packers' depth that sticks out in my mind.
And most importantly, and you switch around to the offense of the Packers side. Like I said, I still think Atlanta has enough to win the football game, but I think the key to that football game is them containing Aaron Rodgers. He's a great scrambling quarterback. Obviously, he has a great deep ball. He's throwing all types of throws, but they have to have Atlanta have to have the ability to put some pressure on Aaron Rodgers. If that doesn't happen, it's going to be a long day for the Atlanta Falcons. You mentioned their secondary and Grimes and Dante Robinson playing very well, but they haven't played well consistently throughout the year. And with the offense of the Green Bay Packers, a lot of depth, as you mentioned, it's going to be a long day for the secondary if they don't get to the quarterback.
Right. Now, I really I want to know a guy that I saw get drafted out of Buffalo in the later rounds. I liked him coming out. James Starks. What sticks out in my mind, he came out of Buffalo. He's ran in the cold weather before. I know they're playing in the dome, but as it's getting cold and late in December and January and February, where does this guy come from? He hasn't been around all year. They've been looking for a running game. This guy's head and shoulders above what they've had with Brandon Jackson and John Kuhn. How has this guy not been the star-studded running back in the backfield the whole season?
Well, when you have those guys that you mentioned, a guy 6th-round draft pick, we talk about early guys that's going to be good players in the future, and he's one of those players. Starks last week has had a breakout game, and I think playing on a dome is just going to only help that whole Green Bay Packers team. They already are a fast team. Now you put them out there on that turf, it's going to turn it up a notch here. So if they let Starks get going, it's going to be a long day for the Atlanta Falcons. So they're going to have to contain that running game, and at the same time contain Aaron Rodgers, which may be a hard thing to do. But I think James Starks is playing, made a name for himself. He's going to make it tough for the running back coming back for next year.
Well, I know Starks has been banged up a little bit earlier in the year. He didn't practice very well for Mike McCarthy, but, this kid's got a bright future in the league. And you look at the Falcons' defensive side of things, I just don't think they have enough to contain. You keep talking about they got to be able to contain. I don't even know that they have the right chips on that defensive side of the ball. I think it's the inexperience on that defense is going to come back to bite them. But no doubt about it, these two teams are great. They've had great seasons, and it should be a great game. I want to just talk about the other matchup that no one really seems to care about, but the Chicago Bears, Seattle Seahawks, two kind of surprise teams. I personally didn't think the Bears had a number 1 wide receiver to get them to this point, but the Seahawks, a lot of people just writing them off once again. What's your thought on this game?
I think Seahawks there by default. I can't. Still not a believer in the Seattle Seahawks, and I think Chicago will win this game by default. I think they have a better defense. Julius Peppers playing really well right now. Jay Cutler, I think, is going to be the key to that football team. Now, if he don't turn the ball over, they win that football game. I think they got enough again defensively. You talk about, I heard Pete Carroll talking about he's going to kick it to Devin Hester, which may be a mistake, but he have no choice. I mean, he have to, they can't give the Chicago Bears a short field goal game. So he also in the special team part of the game is going to be a critical part as well. But I got Chicago's winning that game and playing the winner of obviously playing for the NFC Championship game.
You talk about Jay Cutler, being the X factor, but look at what the Seattle Seahawks were able to do against Drew Brees and the Saints. They thought they were going to come out blitzing, and in fact, they just dropped everyone. They just rushed 3 or 4, and everyone else was in coverage. If that's the case, there'll be a lot of defenders out there looking to be opportunistic to turn over Jay Cutler, which is what Jay Cutler does most.
That's what he does best. But, I think, like I said, Forte is going to obviously dropping them guys back in coverage, and that's what a running game is going to pick up at. So I think Matt Forte can have the biggest game of his career if they plan to do that. So they got to pick their poison. They're going to play the run, or they're going to pressure. They're going to pressure Cutler, or they're going to make him put him in some bad situations. So they can't do both, and I don't think that's the game plan that they want to do. They had a great game plan against the New Orleans Saints. Their defense didn't play that well, but they got to put more pressure on Jay Cutler. I think he can turn the ball over.
Nonetheless, man, thanks for your insight. I think there's going to be a monster weekend. I hope all the games live up to the hype, and we'll be catching up next week.
No problem, man.
All right, thanks, Victor.
Victor Green, you're watching Class Act Sports.